Hi there, Alaupa, dear friends. I'm going to be reading to you the November 22nd, 2019 letter from the National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of the U.S. on current turmoil in Iran and our conduct. And then I'm also going to be reading the February 2018 letter that is referenced in this video. November 22nd, to the American Baha'i community. Dearest friends, the resurgence of political turmoil in Iran in recent days, reports of which mention widespread demonstrations, acts of violence resulting in significant property damage, and over 100 deaths, together with the increasing volume of chatter, in quotes, about it online, has caused us to return to guidance we shared with you nearly 2 years ago. In February 2018, we circulated a mailing to the community addressing the subject of unrest in Iran and principles guiding our conduct, which focused on 2 documents. One, a cover letter from this assembly putting in context the second, a message from the Universal House of Justice on the strong Baha'i principle of non-involvement in political matters. We feel it most timely and appropriate to again call your attention to these vitally important communications and have attached them for your personal reflection. We also strongly suggest that you share them with the friends and discuss them in appropriate settings aimed at aligning our conduct and words more closely with the clear instructions of our faith's central figures and the guidance of its beloved guardian and supreme institution. With loving Baha'i greetings, Kenneth E. Bowers, Secretary, National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of the United States. Forgive me for the dog barking, dear friends. It's not mine. Let it just be symbolic of the turmoil here referred to. This is the February 7th, 2018 letter to the American Baha'i community from the National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of the United States. Dearly loved friends, recent unrest in Iran has persuaded us that it is timely and appropriate to focus renewed attention on the principles that should guide our conduct as American Baha'is in relation to the situation in that country. We begin by noting that according to reports received from the Baha'i World Center, the friends both inside and outside Iran have, by and large, adhered to the principle of non-involvement in partisan politics in their activities. Their self-discipline has not only helped to safeguard the unity of the Baha'i community, it has protected the friends in Iran from those who would gladly use any semblance of support for the current demonstrations as an excuse to intensify their persecution of Baha'is. There is always a danger that the activities of Baha'is in other parts of the world, especially in the United States, that are inconsistent with the firm principles of our faith could result in a backlash against Baha'is in Iran, resulting in further repressive measures taken against them. Avoiding entanglements in its political controversies does not mean the friends should be indifferent to events in Iran. The protests in Iran began by calling attention to widespread corruption and the current regime's failure to establish policies fostering economic growth and a measure of prosperity for all strata of Iranian society, matters for which peaceful demonstrations might well be justified. Many of the demonstrators, however, have also called in effect for regime change, and some have joined their voices to shouted choruses calling for the death of specific leaders. These are acts no Baha'i anywhere could in good conscience be associated with. Acts that are completely inconsistent with Baha'i principles of loyalty to one's government and of political non-partisanship. Principles that Iran's Baha'is have steadfastly upheld despite nearly 4 decades of systematic oppression. Political nonpartisanship has not required from the Friends in Iran a passive acceptance of the injustices they have been forced to bear. Far from it. In the decades since the Iranian Revolution, representatives of the nation's Baha'i community have courageously expressed their views to the regime, not only about the plight of their own community, but about the larger concerns of justice and governance in Iran. And the conversation continues to this day. The Friends in Iran have assured the integrity of their efforts by advocating for things consistent with Baha'i principles, not taking sides in partisan political disputes, not breaking laws in process of presenting their views, and expressing themselves with courtesy and civility. This has applied to interactions in public with friends, neighbors, and government officials, as well as to activities on blogs and social media conducted in the privacy of their homes. Their continuing efforts to be of service to their fellow citizens, despite the prejudice and indignities they have faced, reflect their nobility of character and high-mindedness. In its letter addressed to the Baha'is of Iran on March 2nd, 2013, which we have attached for your ease of reference, also linked below the letter itself and my reading of the letter, March 2nd, 2013. The Universal House of Justice makes it clear that the principles mentioned above apply not only to the Baha'is in Iran, but to Baha'is everywhere. In that same document, the Supreme Body remarks, wherever they reside, Baha'is endeavor to uphold the standard of justice, addressing inequities directed towards themselves or towards others, but only through lawful means available to them. Further, it offers the unequivocal statement that Baha'is will not affiliate themselves with political parties, become entangled in partisan issues, or participate in programs tied to the divisive agendas of any group or faction. Adding that Baha'is will not be party to any instigation to overthrow a government. Much of the letter provides the framework within which the Baha'is view history and the role that Baha'i individuals, institutions, the community, and non-Baha'i collaborators can constructively play in addressing current social issues and in building a new world order, the remedy to the many ills afflicting society. We strongly suggest a renewed study of the March 2nd letter as soon as practicable, especially for those contemplating action in connection with the current situation in Iran. Finally, Baha'is in Iran have managed through their staunch adherence to principle and despite severe persecution for nearly 40 years, to create a favorable change in the attitude of the average Iranian citizen toward the faith. It would be a great disservice to their decades of fortitude and sacrifice for some of the friends here to participate in activities inconsistent with Baha'i principles, activities well known to political figures and leaders of thought in Iranian society, whether friends or enemies of the faith, and thereby set back the reputation of the Baha'i community in Iran and elsewhere. I'm just going to reread that paragraph. Our guidance is so clear, and we struggle with it. I get it. I see it on Facebook every day, but our guidance from the central figures of the faith, from the Guardian, from the House, and from National of the U.S. is so clear. And the stakes can be really high. So I'm just going to read that second to last paragraph again. Finally, Baha'is in Iran have managed, through their staunch adherence to principle and despite severe persecution for nearly 40 years, to create a favorable change in the attitude of the average Iranian citizen toward the faith. It would be a great disservice to their decades of fortitude and sacrifice for some of the friends here, U.S., to participate in activities inconsistent with Baha'i principles. Activities well known to political figures and leaders of thought in Iranian society, whether friends or enemies of the faith, and thereby set back the reputation of the Baha'i community in Iran and elsewhere. We hope this letter will clarify the principles that should guide our conduct in relation to the recent unrest in Iran and answer questions regarding what actions on our part will best support our valiant sisters and brothers in the land of our faith's birth. With loving Baha'i greetings, Kenneth E. Bowers, Secretary. Alaupa, dear friends, the March 2nd, 2013 letter from the House of Justice is linked below, the reading of it as well as the letter itself, and also the letter on political non-involvement. Alaupa, dear friends, Baha'is and non-Baha'is, let's go out there and follow Baha'u'llah's incredible principles for actually consistently transforming this world.